We met when I was 15 and he was a senior in high school, and we dated for 3 years, and then we got married in 1975, March the 8th of 1975, and we had 2 children, and we moved from Mount Healthy to Indiana to give our kids more space to roam. So they went to East Central High School, and he decided to join the fire department because we had a friend who was on the fire department and he passed away. And my husband said, since he's passed away, we're going to join and we're going to do our part. So he joined, and then my son, Tom Jr. joined, and then my son Michael joined, and I joined. So they were firemen. I was an EMT. Then my husband became an EMT, and this is what we did. This was our fun. He loved it. He was so devoted to them that he would leave a party or Christmas or whatever. He would leave. If there was a run, he would go. So he was the assistant chief. He always wanted to have everybody together as a family. He wanted it to be a family situation. So he organized bonfires and Christmas parties, and on Saturdays he would make chili or make biscuits and gravy so that everybody would come and eat and be together as a family. And he always wanted you to bring your family and bring the kids. And we had a bonfire, and he just was all about getting them all together so that they all had a good camaraderie. He loved it, and he didn't want the wives or the children to be left out if they weren't members. Because later, well, not later, I guess, my nephew also joined the fire department, so it was kind of fun. Him and I went to EMT school together, so my nephew and I ran a lot of life squad calls. It was just nice because every time we went there, it was like a party, because we'd take snacks and pop, and there were times we would all just sit around. We were a volunteer fire department, so we would all just sit around because we wanted to be first on the life squad. So we would sit around the firehouse and have snacks and talk and play cards until there was a run, and if there wasn't a run, we'd go home. And then after a while, they started having shifts, 12-hour shifts. So my husband was on days because he was the assistant chief, and I did Friday nights, and I had a partner, and he would be there. I would go to the firehouse for my shift at 6 p.m. and we would have dinner together, and then he would go home and I would do my shift. So, and we all just, it was what we did. He was an inspiration to everybody. There wasn't anything he wouldn't do or try, or so I think he helped them get organized. He helped them. He was always trying to make everything fun, even training. He wanted it to be fun. So, and he says, if you're not having fun, why do it? That was his thoughts on it. When my grandson was younger, my husband took him on all the runs with him because he was, with the assistant chief. So he had a car, and my grandson would go on all the runs with him, and he knew how to do knots. So when they came to knot training, my grandson did the training on doing knots because he learned it all. He loved it. He knew it all backward and forward. So he taught everybody. Well, the one thing we want everyone to remember about Tom is that he was a caring, loving person, and he always said that everyone at the firehouse had a purpose, that no matter what you could do or whatever you couldn't do, you all had a job. And he always told me there's good in everybody, no matter what they do. He said even, people who get put in jail, he said everyone has good qualities, and he said you just got to help them show their qualities. That was the thing that I think was the most important about him. And he didn't dislike anybody, would give people different jobs to do, and if you didn't want to do it, that's fine. And if you could do it and that's what you were good at, then that's what your job was. And of course, everybody wants the fun jobs. Everybody wants to run the pumps, and so he, would teach them. And Some could and some couldn't, but he gave everybody the opportunity to try. We even had female firefighters, and he said he wanted them treated as equally as the men, so they were. It was a good family. I think that I just want to say that we all love him, we miss him, and he had a lot to teach, and he did it, and I guess it was his time to relax. I guess the only thing I would like to add is that the one thing that he just loved more than anything was ice cream. He loved his cone of vanilla ice cream. And if I was on my way home from work, he would call and say, "You are going to stop and get ice cream, right?" Or if we went somewhere, he always had to have a cone of vanilla ice cream. That was the last thing he had before he passed away. He had an ice cream and he went to bed. I always have to have a Diet Coke from McDonald's. It's my thing. I swear I have to have. So on the way home, he looks at me and he goes, "So I guess you just really need a Diet Coke, don't you?" And I said, "Well, if you want to stop, I know you don't like to," because he would get mad at me. "Why do we have to do this?" So he goes up to the drive-up window and he goes, "I want to get a large Diet Coke and a large vanilla cone." And I'm like, "Oh, you used me. You used me to get your ice cream."